All right. So we are live now. And hello, everyone. Welcome to the All About Web session, wherein we have Minko. And he will be talking about Angular. And he's from the Angular team, the core Angular team at Google. So he will be talking about Angular. And hopefully, by the end of his session, you will all be feeling inspired enough, and you will then go back to the ngGirls workshop that we are hosting on Microsoft Teams, and continue coding in Angular throughout the rest of the workshop. So over to you, Minko.
Great. Let me share my screen.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, do you see my slides full screen now?
I think they should be able to see it now.
Yeah, which is it?
Awesome. Okay. I guess we can get started. So hello, everyone. My name is Minko Gechev. Today, in this presentation, I would want to share with you how software engineering could be your superpower. At least it has been for me for the past about 10 years. So I'm currently leading the developer relations team at Google for Angular. And today, I would want us to look at what software engineering is. So I'll be referring in this presentation to both software engineering, like computer programming and coding. Although they are slightly different, you can think about them as the same thing. I'll be mentioning pretty much all of these concepts during my presentation. Just think about them as creating software. So we will be first looking at what software engineering is. Right after that, we're going to discuss like how you can get started with software engineering and why it might be worth it. And finally, we're going to look at Angular and why it could be a good start for you. All right, so what is software engineering? As you can guess, it is an engineering discipline. And we can first look at the definition of engineering. JB Sterling, she's a very successful entrepreneur here in Silicon Valley. She defines, and also a very successful engineer, she defines engineering as a skill set to build anything that you have in your head. Like, that's pretty fascinating, right? You can build anything that you have in your head if you have this foundations or this fundamentals of engineering. Basically, engineering provides you a way of thinking. Of course, if you're a software engineer and you have to build a skyscraper, well, you have to have different mindset. You have to have different expertise in, I don't know, like physics and construction, but you're going to have the same fundamentals. You'll be thinking by using the same mindset, by using the same way of thinking to develop pretty much anything you have in your head. So what is software engineering? With software engineering, you can build computer software, right? You can learn the fundamentals of coding or programming, and from there, you can jump to different types of coding, different types of software engineering. You can build machine learning software, or you can build web systems or games or much more. Pretty much all of these different topics, they have the same fundamentals that you have to learn. You have the same if statements, the same like conditional constructs and same loops, pretty much things that you're going to look at today as part of ngGirls. As part of ngGirls, you're also going to look at the fundamentals of web development by using Angular. You're going to see how with software engineering, in contrast to other engineering discipline, everything that you need to get started with and to build everything that you have in your head is just a computer and an idea. This is, in fact, what I love most about software engineering. It gives us huge freedom. We are not that dependent on resources. We just need some time and motivation to build really anything you want. So Kelly Santiago, for example, she's a very successful software engineer in the game industry. She developed the game Flower, and she's currently one of the leading game designers and engineers in a gaming company. There are many different examples. For example, Kumao, she was a director of engineering in VMware, and she helped them to build their cloud infrastructure. I bet you have also saw this photo of Kate Bowen. She was one of the engineers in the engineering team of the, I believe, European Space Association, who developed the software for rendering the first image of a black hole ever recorded. You can see the variety of different things you could build with software. As I mentioned, they're all using the same fundamentals, some pieces of software engineering that you're actually going to touch on today. Many people say that programming is easy, that software engineering or coding is easy, right? I bet you can write this in Google and there are going to be thousands of results. Well, I don't believe coding is easy, or at least it wasn't easy for me. I had to go through months or even years of trying out different approaches until something worked for me. To get good into coding, you shouldn't expect that you should just get some gift from somewhere. Like people who are writing software and creating these fascinating systems, such as Katie Bauman, for example, they weren't born with this gift. They just put a lot of effort into learning and trying and just experimenting with different software engineering approaches in order to get better in software engineering and programming in general and build anything that they ever wanted. So now with my personal story, I would want to share with you how software engineering could give you a professional direction and help you with professional growth, how you can just like get exposed to all these different hundreds of different resources that you can find online, and how it can help you to find your community. A community of really like-minded people who have similar motivation and similar goals just like you. This was actually probably the thing that I loved the most in software engineering. Once I got started with programming, over time I was able to find my community with people who had similar ideas like mine, people with whom I really enjoyed communicating and like just growing together. Right now I am giving this presentation from somewhere around here in San Francisco. It's I believe it's somewhere below my cursor. But originally I'm from a place like super far away, about 10,000 kilometers. I was born and raised in this tiny town here in Bulgaria. And the Wikipedia article is a little bit ambitious. In fact, we don't have about 22,000 people there. There are more like 15 or 17,000 or so. It's a really beautiful town for sure, but as you can imagine in technical progress, it could not be compared to the Bay Area or Silicon Valley. There I got my first computer when I was somewhere around 13 or 14. It was a Siemens machine, something similar to this one, 100 megahertz, where I was able to just install a single game. And that was pretty much everything. If I wanted a new game, I had to remove the previous one so that I can take advantage of the new one. And I had this computer. I really enjoyed using it, but I really didn't have a direction. I didn't really know what to do with it. Until I joined my high school. I was lucky and fortunate enough to have a high school where we had a couple of passionate teachers, passionate in programming or like software engineering. So they gave me some direction. They helped me to understand how to use this computer in order to create things. Until this point, I actually didn't believe that normal people can create software. For me, that was something like mind-blowing. The entire machinery on how computers work, these were like rocket science to me right now. So anyway, I found kind of my community there in the face of my high school teacher. And we started building websites together. He showed me some of the basics. Back then, we didn't have really Angular. Back then, it was more like some other technologies that you're going to see and hear about in the future, such as PHP and jQuery. And over time, I started really struggling with it. I really wanted to build something. For example, I wanted to build a website for my favorite TV show back then, Perfect Strangers. But it was really hard for me to understand how the individual concepts were gluing together. So what I did was to learn a lot of different things from heart, by heart. I just memorized them, which wasn't the most efficient approach, but well, that's what I did back then. At the same time, I had the exposure to these online communities. The forums back then looked something like this. So everyone was sharing just different tiny code snippets. They were talking about how you can solve different problems with software engineering and like how you can build websites, how you could build a tiny animation for your websites and stuff like that. Eventually, after months and like hundreds of hours spent in front of my computer, I came up with this website. That's actually original screenshot from one of the first websites that I ever developed. It's kind of a polished version of the original website, but I still remember the nights I spent in front of my computer just polishing this tiny Ajax gallery, which was visualizing photos, like being able to react on my clicks and change to the next photo, allowing the users to vote for these pictures. It was really, really interesting for me to be able to build something from scratch, completely from scratch. When I showed this to, so actually my teacher even suggested to use this website for school websites. But I met with some other teachers, and they took me on the site and they said, Minko, I want to tell you the truth. This is just very ugly. And to be honest, as a kid, I was really demotivated, but still I was really enjoying the machinery of building these websites. So I kept moving together. I just kept pushing in software engineering. Later on, I went to college. I studied similar discipline, and I met different people. Not all of them necessarily with the formal background that you get in college. Some of them were just enthusiasts who were doing something else. For example, there were some of my friends who are really good software engineers right now. They started as cops, and later on they moved to software engineering. Some other, they were in literature, but they saw that coding allows them to create new things with minimal amount of resources. They just have their laptops, a little bit of internet, and they were already able to create stuff just by assembling different scripts together. So on some of these events, I was able to meet my community. And this was really like, it impacted me in a lot of different positive ways. Back in high school, I don't think I was too social. I was pretty much staying by myself, like coding late nights and like not going out with friends much. But meeting this community with like-minded people, I actually enjoyed spending time with them. I enjoyed brainstorming different ideas and building things. Later on, I even discovered this social media, or like this is something like Facebook or Instagram for software engineers. Instead of sharing photos of cats, however, here you can share your code snippets. You can share your projects on GitHub. And this is a fascinating place for me because you can see the work from millions of developers around the world. As you can see, there are currently about 50 million developers who are constantly pushing new source code and new software systems that you can learn from. Now, many people have this incorrect belief or perception that to write code, you should be like this genius programmer, and to share it, it gets even trickier because you believe that your source code needs to be perfect to share it in front of public. Well, GitHub is going to learn you that that's not the case. You can just start learning from here. You can experiment with different tiny projects and push them online and get feedback from other developers. For example, I found this extremely empowering. Once I registered on GitHub and I started pushing my source code, this immediately opens my network to hundreds of thousands of other engineers all around the world. I was working back then from Bulgaria, a country in Eastern Europe, but I was able to collaborate with the Angular team at Google. So that was super powerful for me. I was able to work with my idol, Minko Gechev. He was able to give me feedback on some of my tiny code changes that I was making to Angular, and that was really fascinating. Over time, I started building different open source projects, and some of these projects got traction. Some people started using them, and even they started inviting me on conferences around the world just to talk about my work. And this gave me the opportunity to meet even more fascinating people. It was really a huge experience for me to travel for different events, like meet brilliant, really, really smart software engineers and just talk to them, just understand who they are, just to understand them as people and as professionals. Over time, Thanks to my GitHub contributions and open source work, just pushing source code and making it available for everyone, a company, a startup here in Silicon Valley, they invited me to join them. And they invited me actually to relocate to a city not too far away from San Francisco. So I moved to San Mateo. This is an authentic photo, actually, from one of my landing on the San Francisco airport. That was really exciting. This was a complete mind shift for me. And I was having the opportunity to live just a couple of miles away from some of the best software engineers that I was following online and to have real life conversations with them. When I moved to Silicon Valley, I kept pushing source code. And one of these open source projects that I built was called Cololizer. Google noticed the source code and this software project, and they integrated it in one of their products, which turned out to be the ngGirls CLI that I believe you're going to interact with today. This Cololizer project, at certain point, became the default tool for analyzing, for checking Angular applications for source code quality inside of Google. So this way, just by building some source code from Bulgaria, which I really didn't believe back then that is going to be valuable at all, well, it ended up being used by some of the largest corporations around. And it had, at certain points, 1.2 million downloads a week. So that was an exciting moment for me. And it got even more exciting when I received this email here in Bulgarian in my Gmail mailbox. So if you are really good into Bulgarian, you would probably understand that, well, it was an email from the administration of the president of my country. They invited me for an award for building an impactful contribution in the area of computer science or software engineering. They here refer to me as a scientist, but I really didn't think of myself as a scientist. I was just a kid who was just writing a lot of source code and pushing it online and enjoying the process of creating new things from scratch. So this way, in 2017, I was fortunate enough to be able to hang out with the president of Bulgaria and a few other people who were awarded during this ceremony. Right, so I hope that with this story, I showed you how software engineering could give you the opportunity for some professional growth and give you a direction that you can grow in and you could develop further. I also hope that I show you how you can work in this collaborative environment and have hundreds of thousands or even millions of free resources that you can use. And also that you can find a really fascinating community that can help you grow forward and help you build new friends. Most of my story was related to Angular. So this proves that there are a lot of opportunities in the Angular community that can help you to develop yourself, to learn new things, and to meet interesting people. In fact, we have about over 1.5 million developers around the world, and one of the strongest communities in the world actually is in India, one of the strongest Angular communities. This is really an outstanding community. I've never felt that welcome when I was traveling for an event somewhere abroad. My first conference, for example, my first event that I ever spoke on outside of Bulgaria was in Las Vegas. And well, I was extremely nervous. I don't know if probably you would believe me, but after I gave my talk, when I finished it, I went to my hotel room and I locked myself there until the late night. This was because I was really nervous that I will be speaking in front of really a lot of smart people that I respected deeply. But they made me feel really welcome. They made me feel really at home, although I was over 10,000 kilometers away. At the same time, there are a lot of annual Angular conferences that you can participate, being part of the Angular community or just using Angular. One of my favorite conferences is ng India. We also have ngConf, which is one of the biggest Angular conferences out there. There are conferences in general in Japan, in Australia, in general in Europe, South and North America, in Asia, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of meetups, so you don't really need to go for a conference or travel. Just look it up online. My guess is that there is already an Angular community in your town. Or if there is not a community out there, you can create one yourself. You can just, that's what I usually do. For example, when I was in Bulgaria, I created a JavaScript community there. I want to talk to like-minded people, so, well, why not? Here in San Francisco, when I moved in here to find friends, I joined the Angular San Francisco meetup, and that was really productive for me. At the same time, Angular is really good if you're just getting started with software engineering, with programming. In general, we're aiming to teach you best practices. There are a lot of different large projects inside of Google which are using Angular. And, well, in order for a project to grow big and to scale, it needs to follow best practices from the beginning. So you're going to find these best practices in Angular. Usually when I'm speaking about the framework and trying to introduce new people to it, I'm showing this slide. This pretty much shows you that if you want to build end-to-end Angular applications, web applications where you're getting pretty much anything from the framework that you would ever wanted, such as a very quick way to build user interface, you can find that in Angular. There are different components, routers, animations, and so on and so forth that are all being developed by the same team. And yes, Angular in general is a platform for web developers which aims to make them productive. That is our main goal, and I'm hoping that we're doing well. So again, from the beginning, software engineering, getting started in it is going to be hard for sure. And it's always challenging. There are always different challenges and trade-offs that you need to make in order to grow further as a software engineer. But you shouldn't focus on the end goal. You should focus on this journey and make it fun, just make it worth it, and enjoy the process. Just start building small things, enjoy and celebrate your success. It's going to be a long road, but I hope you're going to enjoy it. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, I would really love to chat with you. And yeah, you can find me online on Twitter, GitHub, my blog, or you can even reach out to me over email. It's minko@gechev.io. Thank you.
That was amazing, Minko. Thank you so much for such an inspiring story. We all were really inspired, especially me, when I watched the whole talk. It was really inspiring, and I hope it inspired quite a lot of other women as well out there, and they will take the best out of this in this whole inspiration, and then they'll try to put that into coding throughout the day in Angular. And as you said, start small and then grow big. The road is long, but yeah, they'll hopefully enjoy the whole journey. So thank you so much. And do we have any questions for Minko? That was a really great session and an inspiring story indeed. Any questions? Okay, doesn't look like it. So you can follow Minko on Twitter. That's his Twitter handle, ngGchev. So you can find that Twitter handle on the ticker that's going on below. So yeah, there are a few words for you, Minko.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I really hope you enjoyed the workshop today. I shared my contact information also in the chat, so if you want to reach out to me, just feel free to directly send me an email. Yeah,
Yep.
thank you very much. Enjoy.
All right. Again, Minko, thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully, a lot of people who have joined in us for today's workshop will reach out to you and then share their story and then connect with you after hearing your inspiring story. uh, yeah, so again, thank you all so much for joining in. I'd request you all to now go back to Microsoft Teams, because that's where the whole workshop will start. So yeah, just in case you are new here, please do like the video, share it with your friends so that they can also get inspired by this amazing story of Mingo. And yeah, subscribe to the channel for more such content. And then again, go back to the Microsoft Teams where we'll be hosting the whole ngGirls workshop. So thank you all so much.